Welcome to the channel. Welcome to today's run through of all the latest Manchester United news and transfer updates, keeping you right up to date with everything. I'm Jamie. Before getting into it, smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Let's jump straight into it. How are we all feeling ahead of the game today? I have that nervous excitement because it's the first game of the season, but nervous on the flip side because we're playing Arsenal and the memory of last season is still imprinted in my brain, and I'm just very worried about this game, but also excited at the same time because, you know, we've got new players and a new front line. Hopefully it can be the start of something new for us as well, but we'll know by the end of the day how we're all feeling as well. But yeah, get involved. Let me know in the comments how you're feeling ahead of the match. Obviously, if you're watching this later on after the match, then, you know, you can tell us how you feel about the result. But a bit ahead of the game, though, Ruben Amorim on his embargo press conference had a bit to say, but when he was asked on his feelings heading into the new season, he said, confident. I know in some moments we will struggle because it's a game against Arsenal. We are more prepared. I feel we have more players who can help us change the momentum of the game. That can give you confidence. We have more options. If things are not working well, we can change things. That gives me more confidence every game. So he's alluding to the fact that actually now maybe we do have obviously more options, especially in the forward line, that can change the games as well. I think we have more players that can, you know, hopefully have an impact on the game themselves where we can win. You know, Matheus Cunha is capable of doing something out of nothing. Brian Mbeumo's capable of doing something out of nothing. Hopefully Sesko can build into that as well. He's got an absolute bullet of a shot as well, will be capable of the spectacular. Maybe, you know, so we do have options, and then that's even if they start, then you've got, you know, Ahmad, who might be on the bench or off the bench, Mason Mount. So I do think he's alluding to the fact that actually maybe we have a few more match winners in the squad and in the team as well. But hopefully we'll see how we get on. Like I said, I'm nervously excited about the start of the season, but also, you know, we're playing Arsenal, and Arsenal are a top team, going to be challenging for the title, I expect, this season. So yeah, it's going to be a difficult start, but let's see how we get on. Hopefully we can, you know, get 3 points today. But give us your thoughts on that in the comments below. Now let's run through the transfer news. So obviously the recent turn of events we were in for Carlos Baleba. No, we're not in for Carlos Baleba because effectively Brighton have said, look, he's not for sale, and we didn't pursue that deal any further because we weren't going to be, you know, blindly bidding for a player that's going to cost £100 million plus. But Fabrizio Romano on Baleba said that Manchester United will keep Carlos Baleba on their list. Manchester United will maintain that name in internal conversations. Man United will still consider him a target for 2026. I can guarantee that because Man United loved the player. Manchester United appreciated how the player was still keen on the move, even in a difficult moment for Man United. So, you know, we could be in a position where do we now wait for Baleba and go for him next summer? But then, you know, I do think we need to bring in a midfielder to help us get in a better position next summer. But then what profile of midfielder do you go for? So it's going to be really intriguing to see what United decide to actually do with the midfield because, you know, they clearly want a player of Carlos Baleba's skill set, which is very unique because he's left-footed and he's an all-action, ball-carrying, you know, defensive shield with that energy and everything like that. And there's not too many players with his profile out there as well. So it's going to be really intriguing to see what United do. Do we just wait and then go for Baleba next summer? But then the competition's going to be higher for him. The price might be higher. I mean, the price might be less if he doesn't perform as well this season as he does for Brighton, in which case we may have dodged a bullet. Or do we go for a stopgap, as I mentioned in yesterday's video? Do we go for like a loan for somebody cheaper to keep the budget there for next summer? Or do we just go out and get somebody else anyway that could maybe partner Baleba next season? So it's going to be really interesting to see what they decide to do. One player that we could pivot to, though, is Adam Wharton. So Manchester United are admirers of Crystal Palace midfielder Adam Wharton. United are weighing up whether to test Palace's resolve to keep Wharton after being told Brighton's Carlos Baleba is not for sale. So Alex Crook from TalkSport, who I would say take with a pinch of salt, although he has been fairly decent, him and Ben Jacobs this summer, I would still want to see a bit more credibility, to be honest, be it with Adam Wharton, suggesting that we are weighing up whether to test Palace's resolve for Adam Wharton, because obviously we've missed out on Carlos Baleba. So that would be, you know, potentially not an alternative, because they're different play styles, completely different profiles of player, which is what confuses me a little bit around the Wharton situation. Because if you look at him statistically, not very good. He's in the bottom 3 for successful take-ons, the bottom 36 percentile for progressive carries. So he is not a ball-carrying midfielder, but he's in the top 92 for progressive passes, 82 for interceptions, and 71 for clearances. And then, his shot-creating actions and stuff are up there. He is a Michael Carrick regen almost, where somebody that can shield the back four, but doesn't necessarily have the defensive output as somebody like Carlos Baleba, but it's different systems and different play styles, but very good on the ball, very good at progressing the ball and making those sort of, line splitting passes through the defense as well. So for people that want a more progressive player on the football, like a Michael Carrick, then Adam Wharton's not a bad shout to go for. But is he the profile of player that we need and that we want in Ruben Amorim's system? What I'm trying to allude to is he a good partner for Bruno? Because Bruno's going to play in midfield. And, you can argue amongst yourself in the comments regarding how you feel about that. But the reality is he's going to play in midfield a majority of games anyway, I suspect. So it's who partners. I think we need a partner for Bruno. That's the key in midfield for me. Somebody to win the ball and be like a little bit of a shield when Bruno does what Bruno does, i.e. getting around the pitch, being busy, probably out of position and giving the ball away. So you need somebody to sweep up, I think, behind Bruno. But interesting profile of player, though. He is definitely a quality midfielder. I mean, I could see the ideal scenario would be Baleba and Wharton. I think that could form a really good partnership in the future, especially if we look into the future for next summer when Casemiro's go in because he's out of contract, and potentially Bruno, this might be his last season if the Saudi Pro League come back in again. So I could see, a midfielder, Baleba and Wharton being a good partnership. So do you go for one of your midfielders this summer if you've got the cash, and then go for Baleba next summer? Who knows? But that's why it's going to be really interesting to see who we pivot to in the midfield. I went down a bit of a rabbit hole though, actually. So I started to compare stats and data with Adam Wharton, because for me, it's a partner we need, somebody to partner Bruno this season, because like I said, Bruno's going to play as our club captain. He's arguably one of our best players, so I think he is going to play in that midfield. So I was like, well, let's compare Adam Wharton to Casemiro, because it seems that Amorim's going to play. Obviously, this is ahead of the game. He might surprise us all and go with Ugarte and Mainu, and Bruno might play higher up the pitch. We don't actually know what his thinking is yet, but the likelihood is it's going to be Bruno and Casemiro, because pre-season he was partnering those two together. So I went down a bit of a rabbit hole and thought, well, I'll compare Adam Wharton to Casemiro, and them's not very dissimilar in terms of what them doing. In fact, there's an argument to say that Casemiro's actually a little bit better than Adam Wharton, which was surprising. So Casemiro's obviously in the blue, more key passes, slightly less progressive passes, wins more duels, wins possession more, less at carrying, but again, neither are ball carrying midfielders. More forward passes percentages as well. And then I was like, holy shit, are we like massively undervaluing Casemiro as well? Because then I looked at his stats and I was like, top 99% for tackles, top 99 for blocks, top 93 for aerials, 95 for clearances, top 89 for touches, 73 for progressive passes. And in terms of like the attacking output as well from a midfielder. And I was like, holy shit, if you compare that to Adam Wharton, are we like massively devaluing Casemiro? The reality is, though, like stats, I think this is one where the stats and the data don't show the full picture, because the problem with Casemiro is not, that. Because statistically, he does look like he is a very good midfielder statistically. But on the eye test, he looks like he's running in treacle half the time. He just doesn't have that turn of pace and that athleticism to, I think, be a shield and a partner for Bruno. That's what I don't like about it. Both lack that ability to get around the pitch, and it does leave us open a lot of the times as well. And we've seen that, and that's not just a Ruben Amorim thing. That was the problem with Casemiro when Ten Hag was here as well, and that's why we eventually got Ugarte to stop us being so open in midfield. But then Ugarte's not very good on the ball. So it's a trade-off, isn't it, of what you decide to do? But like, are we doing Casemiro a little bit of a disservice here? Because statistically, like I said, there's Adam Wharton, the golden boy. Everyone wants to, everyone's raving about in terms of his ball playing ability and stuff, and then. I don't know. But the eye test is different. Problem with Casemiro, and I'm not saying that we should keep Casemiro or anything like that. I'm just looking at the data, and like I said, went down a bit of a rabbit hole looking at it because I was like, holy shit, are we devaluing Casemiro that badly? Because statistically, he's actually, there's argument to say that actually he's a little bit better than Adam Wharton in some areas anyway. But I think the eye test is different. The eye test is a little bit different. Wharton has not necessarily got that turn of pace, but he is a little bit quicker across the ground and covers more ground than Casemiro, I think, as well. But I thought it was an interesting point, but you can come at me in the comments and let me know what you think about that down below. Now, I'd keep with Adam Wharton. Manchester United have an interest in Crystal Palace's Adam Wharton, and he could be seen as a possible alternative to Carlos Baleba. Any deal for Wharton would be sizable and very difficult, but United do like him. So we can confirm Manchester United have made inquiries this week and are contemplating whether to make a move. Wharton is a player United have a long-term interest in, and like Baleba, they feel he would offer them something different. However, it is highly unlikely that Wharton would be attainable this summer, with Eze set to move to Tottenham Hotspurs in the coming week, whilst Palace are likely to refuse to entertain any approach. We are told that to land Wharton, it would take a deal in excess of £100 million. So that came from Graham Bailey, suggesting that United have made inquiries already about Adam Wharton, but it's going to be very unlikely, because Palace are in a bit of a mess, actually, financially. Maybe financially, but in a little bit of a mess. I don't think they've signed that many players. They've obviously had the whole shenanigans with being knocked down into the Conference League as well. Eze could be going to Tottenham. There was reports maybe, I don't know if Arsenal is still interested in or not. I don't follow transfer news from other clubs too closely, but according to that report, he might be close to going to Tottenham. Are Palace really going to sell Eze and Adam Wharton? Unlikely. It's seen as just as difficult to get Wharton out of Palace as it would be to get Baleba out of Brighton. In excess of £100 million as well as a big outlay for Adam Wharton, although I do think he is a good player. He is a quality player if you want that sort of ball progressor in the midfield, but I'm not convinced that that's the profile of midfielder that we're looking for. But you can let me know what you think about that in the comments below. Someone that probably is a little bit more around the profile we're looking for is Morten Hjulmand. So Fabrizio Romano has said that Manchester United can go for Morten Hjulmand from Sporting. Sporting don't want to sell other top players after losing Victor Gyökeres this summer, so it would be a tough and difficult deal to do. Manchester United at the moment have still not started concrete talks for Morten Hjulmand. They are informed about the situation because it's a player on their list, well known by Ruben Amorim, but at the moment they have not advanced in club-to-club talks, or they have not started concrete negotiations. So Fabrizio Romano saying, look, basically, Hjulmand might be an option for us. He's on our list. He's a player that was obviously admired by Amorim. He's a player that we've scouted before multiple times, even before Amorim as a club. But Sporting, because they've sold Gyökeres, will be reluctant to sell, so it's going to be a difficult deal to do and probably one that's going to be expensive. And this goes back to the point I made in yesterday's video, if you watch that if you show your hand and make £100 million plus bid for Carlos Baleba, which we didn't, we walked away before we actually made an official bid because of the prices and stuff involved. How much do you think Sporting would then ask for Morten Hjulmand if they know you've got the cash available, which is one of the difficulties around the Baleba deal, because you're talking 50-60 million pounds is the reported figures that I've heard when he's been linked with other clubs as well, which is a massive outlay. And if he's not your primary target, what do? Do you spend that money on a stopgap and then still in a year or two's time you're still then looking at another midfielder, or do we just stick with what we've got, which is going to suck, but then you've got the money there next summer for Carlos Baleba? Like I said, do we get a stopgap signing? Could we have done something? The more I look at it, the more we should have maybe done something with Douglas Luiz and Jadon Sancho when that deal was potentially on the cards. Although, because it looks like Luiz might be going to Nottingham Forest last time I checked. Can we do a deal for that? I don't know. I don't know if we could swoop in and do something like that. But it's going to be, like I said, it's going to be really intriguing to see what they do with the midfield and which direction they go down. Do we hang fire? go for Baleba next year, keep the money, and then do a big revamp in the midfielder next season. But that leaves us in a bit of a position this season where it is going to be painful, I think, for certain games. With the profile of players that we've got, and would Adam Wharton come in and would he solve that problem? I'm not totally convinced, although I do think Adam Wharton is a great player. So it's an odd one, isn't it? But you can let me know what you think about that in the comments below. Let's run through some other news. So Manchester United are making hush-hush checks about a remarkable return for keeper and club legend David De Gea. The Red Devils have been tipped off that the Spaniard 34 has a clause in his deal at Fiorentina allowing him to leave for a relatively small sum. Now discreet background calls are being made after De Gea made a good impression on his return to Old Trafford for a friendly last weekend and told fans that paths may cross again. Now, that came from Reluctant Nick, who writes for The Sun. This is the same journalist that I brought you a story a few days ago saying that Dominic Calvert-Lewin had sacked his agent because he was trying to get himself a deal to go to Manchester United. Dominic Calvert-Lewin signed for Leeds now, so I would instantly take this with a pinch of salt. In fact, I'm going to throw it in the BS bin. I can't see us having secret talks with David De Gea, as much as I would be interested to see what that would be like. I'd be really intrigued to see De Gea come back. I like David De Gea. I think he's a fantastic goalkeeper and was a great servant to the club. But do I think we needed to move on when we moved on from him at the time? Probably. It's just we've moved on to the wrong profile of goalkeeper and got somebody actually worse, because Onana was meant to come in as this transformative goalkeeper, ball playing and everything like that. And I think that the biggest criticism I have about Onana, forget the mistakes, right? Because we all have that same criticism. It's the fact that he is absolutely shit with the ball at his feet. And this was meant to be a goalkeeper we bought in to replace De Gea because he was better than De Gea at kicking the ball. And I haven't seen any of that from Onana. That's one of my biggest bugbears with Onana, is the fact that he's still shit with his feet when we bought him in to replace De Gea. So he's worse shot stopper, but no better with the ball at his feet, in my opinion. And that's my gripe with Andre Onana, but I digress. Going back to Gea, yeah, it came from The Sun. You can tell me in the comments what you think regarding that situation. Now, this was really interesting, actually. So Sully Talk said that Benjamin Sesko has left players and staff shocked with his incredible work ethic internally, always the first in and last to leave training, always doing hours of extra recovery plus gym work, even after the normal sessions, settling in fast. And he was praised by Ruben Amorim in his press conference on Friday as well, saying, look, he's very intelligent. He's always asking questions. So I do think, and he was saying that almost we have to calm him down a little bit and tell him freaking go home and get some rest or whatever, because he's apparently come in very eager to learn. And I like that as well. I like the fact that, Sully's saying that he's, first in, last out of training as well. That just shows that he's, that sort of personality that wants to do better, wants to improve, wants to be here and wants to hit the ground running, hopefully with a winner today against Arsenal. That's what I'm dreaming of. I'm dreaming of a, Mbeumo cross to the back post, a bullet header from Benjamin Sesko, him running off doing the Victor Gyökeres celebration. That would make my Sunday. That would be the best opening to the season for us. I think I'm dreaming of that scenario, but, unlikely. But give us your thoughts on that in the comments. Now, obviously, because we got Sesko, that put big question marks around Rasmus Hojlund, who's effectively been told to, go find another club. Now, Nico was saying that Rasmus Hojlund has not decided to leave Manchester United yet, and he would like to have another chance with United, even if he is no longer central to their plan. So Nico's suggesting that maybe Hojlund's still a little bit undecided what he wants to do. Whether he gets any minutes today, it might force his hand, though, as well, because imagine if he doesn't even make the bench. Imagine if Cheeto makes the bench today. I think that would be a massive, statement of intent from Ruben Amorim, and put Hojlund exactly how he feels about him if he's not even in the match day squad today. But yeah, let's see how that all plays out. Obviously, we'll know closer to the match day when the team news gets leaked and stuff. But yeah, we'll bring you any more updates on the Hojlund situation. Now let's go through Jadon Sancho. So AS Roma is still waiting for Jadon Sancho's final decision and answer after their contract proposal. Manchester United are ready to accept £20 million fee on loan plus obligation. They want to get it done ASAP. Final green light now up to Jadon. So Jadon Sancho still not decided whether he wants to go to Roma. Brilliant. So we're still waiting and being held up by player decisions that, But it is what it is. That's been our entire summer. Like, I don't think United can do much more. They've literally put these players on the block. We're accepting bids for them. And it's down to the players themselves. We physically can't force them to accept deals. It's just very infuriating that we've got players with that sort of mentality where they're like, reluctant to actually want to go and play football, it seems. But it is what it is, and we are where we are. Interestingly, the Romano's just come out saying that AS Roma make contact for Tyrell Malacia as left-back option during talks with Man United for Sancho, so no green light yet from Jadon. AS Roma also asked for Malacia deal conditions. Tyrell keen on move. Besiktas also interested in Dutch left-back. So finally, we've got a little bit of movement potentially on Tyrell Malacia, as he's another one in the bomb squad that, it's not going to be a massive transfer fee or anything. It's just that, surely he wants to go and play football as well. So it's just another one. And the report recently was the only one was he had an offer from the Saudi Pro League, but nowhere else, coming from a good Dutch journalist. So that's interesting from Romano, saying that Roma might also be interested in Malacia and potentially move from that. I mean, it could Besiktas are interested in Sancho as well. So are they going to follow each other around? Are both going to go to Roma, or both could potentially go to Besiktas, depending on what happens with Jadon Sancho and his decision. So that'll be an interesting one. But yeah, hopefully we can get some movement on some exits soon. And then the final player is Antony. So Besiktas, Fenerbahce and Galatasaray are all willing to meet Manchester United's asking price for Antony. However, they all want to sign him on an initial loan with an option to buy. We should not be doing options to buy with loan deals for Antony. Obligation still helps us from a PSR perspective because we can write off his monetization. But options to buy you can't, so I don't think that helps us. But as we know, Antony's waiting for a bullshit loan to Real Betis at the end of the transfer window. We already know that. We've known that pretty much from this opening of the transfer window as well. But so annoying. But let's just hope we can get some more. I think as the football starts, you'd like to hope anyway, with the football season actually starting now and people playing games, you'd be sat there if you were, Antony not playing, not even having a kick of a ball in pre-season, as your pride would kick in to say, actually, I do want to be playing football. You would have thought so anyway, but who knows? It's just really infuriating, the exit news. But there's only a couple of weeks left in the transfer window. I do think we'll get some movement on them, but it's going to be later on. It's going to be later on in the transfer window as well. But yeah, let's see how it all plays out. But give us your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments below. That's you all up to date with the latest news and transfer updates. Smash a like on the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Come on, United.